Alright, so here we are on day 3 of the spring training camp, Miami, Florida. Going upwind, doing the sweat box drill. The breeze is pretty up and down here. Lots of puffs and lots of lulls. Plenty of shifts. Practicing our tacks. We discussed tacking in front of the mast versus tacking behind the mast. Here's one in front of the mast. So at what point we want to start tacking behind the mast versus in front, I think depends on both the wind speed but also the sea state. Obviously if it's choppy we don't want to be in front of the mast, potentially digging the bow on a wave. In this light stuff, like we talked about, we want the skipper working the heel as well as the crew. Comes down to communication, making sure each person is aware of what their job is. Weight could be closer together there. Making sure we're staying nice and far forward when things lighten up. We talked about skippers making sure that they keep their weight forward in the tack, so you're not digging the stern, slowing things down through the tack. We also want nice smooth tacks where we're letting the boat heel and we're letting the boat roll itself through the tack rather than using a lot of helm, jamming it over. Remember that we can roll tack these boats, not aggressively like the Laser or some other boats, but we're still able to roll tack. This is a great drill here. Great that it creates these situations, just like we would see in racing. Here we are in full screen mode. So again, very, very light here, but with big puffs coming down. So I want to see everybody adjusting controls, especially the vang. That's sort of the next element for us to incorporate into our game, is to be able to adjust that vang on the fly. Big gains to be made by easing the vang and then trimming the vang. Again, we want to be anticipating the puffs as much as possible, making sure that we're taking advantage, taking every little bit out of the puff that we can. A little rounding here. Making sure you're carving that boat down with the proper heel. Letting the boat accelerate as you bear away. Nice hoist by Alec. Good technique there. Adri nice and far forward. Morgan could get forward. Overshot. Letting the guy sneak in there. Be careful of that. Make sure you're shutting the door, not allowing opportunities for others. They will take them. Coming downwind now. Again, we see big variation on the course. Little puff up in the top right corner. Not a lot happening in the middle here. Difference of angles is significant as well. So again, we talked about where the puffs are coming from downwind, making sure that we're looking for them, making sure we're trying to connect the dots on the downwind, connect those puffs. Ideally, we would stay in the pressure all the way downwind, working from one puff to the next, never coming off the plane. Little situation here. Julie and Mika had to give room for both boats. We discussed that at the debrief. If anyone is unclear on that, then come talk to me. Back into upwind, tacking. Another tack in front of the mast, and one behind the mast. This is a good amount of leech tension for these conditions. Watch, stepping too far back. Sorry, Mika. Make sure you're keeping that main sheet on through the tack. If you can carry the power through, then make sure that the main stays on. If you're easing it out a little bit, you're losing power through the tack. Up until a certain point, let's say 10, 12 knots, depending on your size, you should be able to keep that main right in all the way, hiking the boat down through the tack. I like the body position there. Audrey didn't take a step back through the tack. It's nice. I want to see those jibs being eased just before the tack and then trimmed on again. The reason we do that is to try to widen the groove on the new side as we hit the new tack, see where we're at, and then trim and dial it up as the speed comes back on. Especially important in the lighter stuff. Here we've got Alec tacking in front of the mast. Good amount of shape in the lower sail. It's good. It gives you that power down low to kind of drive through the waves. Not that it's necessarily super choppy here, but pretty up and down. Power down low helps the boat drive forward when things get a bit lighter. Maybe a little too much heel through the tack there. Looked like the leeward wing went in the water. Not a bad roll though. So we're going downwind now. Looks to me like there's quite a bit of vang on. Don't forget to take that off. Keep that kite line. Taking a couple seconds to settle in. Good body position here now though. I like that. Audrey's nice and far forward. Weight together. Cat's moving back and forth, adjusting for the waves. We're zooming in on the jib here, trying to get a look at what's going on. We discussed making sure we're setting that jib to the point of sail. That's really important. Again, that's something that will really help us going forward, is those little small things, incremental gains. Again, looks like the leech is too tight. I'd like to see a little more vang off here. Coming in for the douse. Nice douse right on the jib sheet. Goes 90% of the way on the jib and then goes on the wire. Lets the skipper trim the last 10%. little traffic. Whenever you don't get the kite down like that, skippers try to turn up and get going upwind. Doesn't matter, you can clean it up later. As long as it's down enough that you can turn the boat upwind, do it. Make sure you're not losing ground if you do have an issue to deal with, rather than sailing on downwind, trying to get things sorted out. Back upwind here now. Audrey could have a little more bang here. The boom looks a little high. Pressure looks like it's coming back on. So now adjusting our tacking style a little bit as the breeze is up. Both people behind the mast. Going quicker to the new side. Eliminating the roll. A nice acceleration by Adrian Morgan, even if it was a little bit early. I like to see Audrey there, sandwiched in the middle, fighting to keep her lane. Really important. These situations are going to happen. It's important that we're able to sail with traffic around and hold our lane. It's just the reality of what's going to happen, because things don't always go perfectly, as we know. So let's be ready for those situations. Another lineup here and an acceleration. Great, really aggressive by Cameron and Alec, especially Alec. That's great. Maybe a little bit of an over flatten, but overall, that's what I want to see. We're trying to establish flow over the sails really quickly in this case when we're trying to accelerate. So that little pump of the boat really kind of shoots the boat forward and gets the flow going more quickly than it otherwise would, if that makes sense. Not enough bang here. I can see the boom is just a little bit too high, leech is a little too open, the boat's heeling. A little aggressive on the turn, but all in all not bad. Good shape in the lower part of the sail. Like to see that. Weight forward. Adri collapsing forward as she needs to, just in front of the shroud there. Oh, who's that guy? What a punk. Uh-oh, we've gone sideways. Bear with us. I think we're going to be back straight again soon. Another great acceleration by Adrian Morgan. Zoe and Annie, you guys could be further forward. There we go. Sliding forward. When it gets really, really light, I want to see people aggressively far forward. Like, there is no limit to how far forward you can be if it's light and it's pretty flat. Just don't have the bow digging. It's pretty much the only rule. Uh-oh. The boat goes better with both people on board.